Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Okay, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, KIP.
My name is Kip. I'm an alcoholic. I see a few familiar faces. I want to thank Brandy for asking me to speak, and I want to thank all of you for showing up today and being here at 2:15 in the afternoon on New Year's Eve. What a shock. Would you have predicted before you got sober that this is where you would be? I don't think so. I don't think so. I have a lot of memories of the Marina Center. I got sober in this area. I moved down to Orange County about 3 years ago and drove up today. There's a lot of rain down there. I don't know if it's coming this way or not. The freeway wasn't too bad in case you're thinking about going south, but don't leave now because I won't believe that. And you know, the memories of this room, when I moved down to Orange County, it's such a contrast between rooms like the Marina Center and what's going on in Orange County. The meetings are quite a bit different. First of all, when people get up there, they tell you their sobriety date, they tell you who their sponsor is, and they tell you they're sober by the principles of the program and God and da-da-da-da-da. So I've gotten in the habit of saying that my name is Kip and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 6, 1981, which means I'm sober 23 years now. And I'm sober by the principles of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and a loving God who keeps me sober one day at a time. Now understand that I didn't like that, the way they ran their meetings. This was after 20 years sobriety. I moved down there, and I didn't like the way Orange County was running their meetings. Because I got sober in this area. And the right way to run a meeting is the way that they're run at the Marina Center. Isn't that right, Chris? Yeah, absolutely. So what I've learned a number of things. The first thing is that no matter how long I am sober, I am just sober today. I have the experience that I have over 23 years, but I am just sober today, one day at a time. And I still have all the wonderful little character defects that are listed in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous and in the 12 and 12 and all the things that I work the steps about. The great thing is that now I'm aware of that. When I came into this program for many years, I wasn't even aware of the character defects. I mean, I was just right and they were wrong. That's as simple as it was. And you didn't know anything and it was your fault. And it took a while for those things to unravel. You know, I say to people who want, you know, what's the secret to staying sober? Hey, just don't drink one day at a time and keep breathing. And it is very important to keep breathing because Chris was talking about his episode with the car and trying to find a cliff. Mine was like an intermittent thing with a shotgun that I was going to use that. 7 years sobriety, I went through a particularly difficult time, and I found myself at Big 5 Sporting Goods over here in Culver City. I don't know if it's still there, and I bought a 12-gauge shotgun. 7 years sobriety. Now, I didn't buy the shells at that time. But I kept that gun, and I know that there are things that happen to all of us that are difficult times in sobriety. And at 23 years sobriety, just about a year ago, in Orange County, I bought the shells. I'll spare you that story because I want to have an uplifting pitch for you today. The uplifting part is, I'm here. Right. And so is Chris, and so are all of you. The Marina Center, as I said, there are a lot of fond memories. The Friday night meeting used to be my home group. I helped to start some of the noon meetings here 20 plus years ago. They weren't always like that. There was always this continuing thing with the neighbors and the parking. I'm amazed this place is still here. Truly, it's God's grace that this meeting is here. But I came up here today because I was asked. And that's one thing that I've tried to maintain throughout my sobriety, and that is when I'm asked to do something, to do it. Today is a real big AA day for me. I came up here, I met my sponsor who still lives up here. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Orange County, you mentioned your sponsor's name too. So obviously some sponsor wrote this little format they use down there. But Alan R. is my sponsor, yeah. So I came up and had lunch with Alan. All the restaurants are really packed today, and the Crest House is closed. What's happened to this area since I left, I ask you? And I'm speaking here, and then at 4 o'clock, I have a regular commitment at Los Angeles Central Office answering the phones. And it falls on New Year's Eve, which is going to be fun tonight. My phone partner, Bill, I'm sorry, I mentioned your name, so if I say anything really lousy, it's not Bill's fault. But Bill and I will be answering the phones there from 4 to 8 this evening. And I have a feeling, and that's where I met Branny, who asked me to come and speak this time. But I know what the phone calls are going to be like from 4 to 8. And it's not going to be people who want to stop drinking. Those start coming in tomorrow and the next week. By and large, I think the phone calls are going to be members of Alcoholics Anonymous who are lost, trying to find a meeting, people from out of town who can't stand their relatives and the party's really gotten out of hand and they need to talk to someone. And people wanting to know, is there still a meeting at Rodeo Drive, and where the hell is the Rodeo Drive meeting? If you're not familiar with that, Rodeo Drive meeting is a huge meeting that used to be on Rodeo Drive and Santa Monica Boulevard in Beverly Hills. Well, that meeting moved, wouldn't you know, after so many years to a different location in Westwood about a year and a half ago, I think. And then it just moved again about a month ago. So if you're someone who goes to about one meeting every year, you're all screwed up now because Rodeo Drive has moved and we don't know where it is. So we get probably 50% of the calls about how do I get to the new Rodeo Drive meeting. That's what they'll be like. But then the calls tomorrow and Sunday, and I heard on the radio that Sunday is the biggest day for check-ins in rehabs. Yeah, January 2nd apparently is the #1 day, the highest check-in rate into rehab facilities across the country. I love statistics like that, don't you? Because for us, it's just so obvious, of course. Someone once said about New Year's Eve that New Year's Eve is amateur night. You know, we're professional drinkers, aren't right? I mean, take credit for it. You are a professional drinker. You used to do it all the time. It was a full-time job. You had to figure out how to pay for it. It was a career in and of itself. And some of us maintained jobs at the same time while we were doing it. But tonight, this is amateur night tonight. You're going to get the people doing all the car crashes and everything else. And they'll be calling and saying, gee, I was sent by the court to go to an AA meeting. And there are probably people here that were, and thank goodness for that, because here you are. And you're not out driving right now. Yeah, it's safe right here, isn't it? You know. And when people call in and they say, gee, I got arrested, I have to go to those AA classes. That's the way it starts. Yeah, I was told to go to one of those classes. And I stand across and say, oh, what class would that be? Would you like English Literature 101? Or would you, no. Oh, those drinking, Alcoholics Anonymous. Yes, well, I'll give you the location of a meeting. And then I ask, because we have closed meetings and open meetings, I ask, do you want to stop drinking? Because that's the only requirement for membership in Alcoholics Anonymous, and as I understand it, that's the definition used for a closed meeting, is if you have a desire to stop drinking, you're welcome in any meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, unless it's a women's stag if you're a man, and vice versa, and all this and the other permutations of that. But I asked, do you want to stop drinking? And then I throw in this little thing to let them off the hook. I say, do you want to stop drinking, or do you just have some bad luck? And they'll say, well, usually I just had some bad luck. I just need to go to one of those classes. And they show up. I don't know about you, but I came to Alcoholics Anonymous as a last resort because I knew that when I went to Alcoholics Anonymous that I would find people just like you. Oh, you guys took that seriously. You know, last night someone said, "Kip, I love your sarcasm." And I said, "What sarcasm?" Because I had a sponsee fire me because he said I was too sarcastic. Because you can't tell if I'm being sarcastic or not now, can you? It's a real problem for me. You love it? Did you say that? Yeah. Oh, it's who you are. Okay. Anyone else who's sarcastic in this room? Okay. Let's see the people who want to be, because after I'm done, you'll change your mind one way or the other. I don't know. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous as the last resort. And I had called Alcoholics Anonymous Central Office 4 or 5 times drunk. One of the blessings of this program is over the past 22 years that I've had a phone shift. I've had a regular phone shift at LA Central Office for 22 years, 22 and a half. That's why I'm going back and forth. And I have been able to get and receive those same phone calls that I made 23 years ago. Of the people calling up drunk, because I called drunk. Why would you ever ask for help when you were sober? That's what I don't get. Why would people go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous if they weren't drinking? I mean, you don't, doesn't make sense, does it? Why would you even go? So I would only call Alcoholics Anonymous after I've been drinking all day, and I was just saying, you know when you get to that place in a drunk where you say, "Oh, I'm sure someone wants to hear about my story." And you get on the phone and start calling up, and I would call Los Angeles Central Office, and I would tell them my poor story. And thank God I learned from over the years, and that person who spoke with me said, "Well, do you want to stop drinking?" That's all he asked, and that's all I ask today when someone comes on with the heavy-duty story, because we all have our stories, don't we? "Oh, yeah, and your story's worse than mine. I know it is." Mm-hmm. "Yeah, I know. You'll be up here soon. Don't worry about it. We'll hear it. It's okay. It's in the making. It'll be on CD or whatever's going on here." And what was that moment of silence? This is the quietest I've ever heard this room before in years. Everyone's like, is there like we have to have absolute silence for the taping? Is that what it is? What was it about? No one knows what that was about? Pardon me? Oh, it takes time to save. Well, that explains it then. We can't be quiet for any reason, but if it takes that time to save, we can all... I called Alcoholics Anonymous drunk. That's when I was 30 years old. I am... I don't want to lie about my age. I'm 54 years old. I got sober when I was 31. Wow, someone said. Wow. What does that mean, wow?
It means you look good for your age, that's all.
Hey, I will beg for a compliment, thank you. Okay. And when they asked me, "Do you want to stop drinking?" and I said, "I don't know," and they said, "Well, why don't you call back when you want to?" Click. And those are the same responses and the same calls that I make, that I answer today at Los Angeles Central Office. I knew that when I went to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous sober, I knew for certain that it was not going to work for me. It was okay for you, but it was not going to work for me because I had tried quitting on my own. Did any of you ever try quitting on your own? Yeah, how well did that work, right? Yeah, why are we here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my feeling was if I couldn't do something on my own, then how could anyone else? How could any program in some big book, and I don't think it's that big, frankly. Do you? I mean, it's 164 pages, wow. But if I couldn't do something on my own and stop drinking by myself, how could anyone else have any influence on that? I knew Alcoholics Anonymous was not going to work for me because I was a daily drinker. For the last year and a half before coming to AA, I was unemployable and unemployed. And I had started out a career as an attorney, and that went down the drain. I started a career in a number of different areas, which I thought I was just multi-talented. Yeah, well, attorney, and then I became an aerobics instructor. What a talented guy, you know? What a talented guy. Isn't it great how we can rationalize? We can rationalize anything. Right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely anything. Save. Oh, you have to do it at a particular time? Will you let me know when we do the save thing? Or okay, thanks, great. See, the other thing about being just overly sarcastic is sometimes people get uncomfortable with that. Is anyone here uncomfortable? What? Okay, thank you. All right. I knew that Alcoholics Anonymous would not work for me. I was a daily drinker. I spent a lot of time down at Venice Beach drinking. Help me out with this one, will you? I would drink bourbon out of a 7-Up can. You know, why other people who are drinking beer would have it in a brown bag. The brown bag kind of means, hey, I have beer in my bag. I'm drinking it. Why not put the beer in the 7-Up can? And you don't have to carry it in a bag. Hello? That was my big contribution to drinking at the beach. I never understood that. It makes no sense. Does it to you? What do you think they're drinking out of a bag? Diet Coke? We don't want to know that you're on a diet or something? I would spend a lot of time around there, and there used to be a pizza place across from the Muscle Beach weightlifting pit before they made it all this modern thing that gets on whatever TV shows. I used to sit there and say, you know, I'm a hell of a lot stronger than that guy is. And it'd be Arnold Schwarzenegger or something pumping iron in the thing. And I'm sitting there drinking out of my 7-Up can and eating pizza at the place across the street saying, well, these guys are wimps. I would go over there and challenge them to weightlifting contests, being drunk, you know, at 2 in the afternoon on a Thursday or something. That's how I spent my life. It was fun. Actually, that was my big socialization. That was my socialization in the world because the rest of the time I would spend in my wonderful apartment with that green shag rug that was stained with vomit, that had a director's chair, a black and white TV set, a mattress on the floor, and the necessity of any alcoholic who loves to communicate, a telephone. Yes. I probably called someone in this room, as a matter of fact. She remembers those calls. I remember getting on the phone with real estate agents in Malibu and wanting to know if they had any estates. Well, you see, because that's what I wanted. But there was this little problem with money in between it, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's this idea. It's who we ought to be. It's who we should be. Yeah, we deserve this. Yes. Oh, you do? And how much is that one? It's $2.4 million. Oh, that sounds and what kind of kitchen does it have? And he said, well, and the great one was when he said, well, why don't I come by and pick you up and we'll go look at it? Well, I'm awfully busy. And that all started from a couple innocent beers when I was 13 years old, and I thought, wow, this would be fun. And it was 2 cans of Colt 45, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't thinking about what I thought of anyone else or what they thought of me. I was suddenly free. It was either, did I say Colt 45? Or did I not identify it? Because I can't remember. It was Colt 45 or Schlitz malt, and I keep asking, do they still make that stuff? Yeah. But at age 13, all of a sudden I was free. Alcohol freed me. Oh, it freed me from that pain of feeling different, from feeling uncomfortable, from the fear. It was just wonderful. And I was at a party and running around chasing the girls, and boy, that I was so fearful of anything like that made my day too. And it progressed, like everyone else, perhaps, to drinking weekends, drinking during the week. I grew up in a small town in Northern California called Redding. Anyone know where that is? Anyone from Redding? Maybe I'll have a chance to tell a bit of a story about that. I was just up there for Christmas, and it's nice to go up there and be sober. And we'd go to meetings up there at the Alano Club on State Street in Redding, California, where they use the same steps. And they always ask visitors to share, which is really nice, because I'm almost a visitor now when I go up there. But there was no question in my mind that after I had gotten out of high school, I went to school down here in Los Angeles, that's where my drinking progressed from social drinking to alcoholic drinking, where you end up drinking by yourself. You just have to drink one day at a time. You like that? Drink one day at a time. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get too much into the drunkalog. Suffice it to say that it was enough. I went from there to law school. In law school, I was drinking every day. My father, stepfather, who was a physician, I told him I couldn't sleep. And the reason I couldn't sleep was because I was drunk every night and trying to study. I'm not a brilliant person by any means. I studied damn hard, like 8 hours a day, and then you drink, and then you pass out, and he prescribed some Quaaludes to help me sleep, not knowing that I was drinking and not knowing that I had any problem with alcohol. And this is Alcoholics Anonymous, but I can tell you that my only experience with drugs were 100 Quaaludes, because he filled the prescription a couple times, and they were great because you could take them before class and just kind of ease you into things. It would mellow out the day for me. I like that, you know. Then he cut me off because he said it was going to be a very popular street drug and people were getting high on it. And I said, oh, no, really? Oh, well, don't give me any more of those. My drinking, by and large, somehow I passed the bar exam. As I like to say, it was the only bar I could pass. Think about that. It's a lawyer type thing. Thank you. And I then moved to Houston, Texas, because there was something problem with the state of California. Because they really didn't understand how talented I was. And they really weren't hiring me very quickly on those jobs. So I knew that if I went to a different place, which, as we know if you've been around, is called taking a geographic, getting out of where you live, moving to a different place, thinking it's going to be different. Has anyone ever done that before? Hello. Okay. And then, of course, the joke is that you bring yourself with you. In Houston, up to Houston, I thought that all of my behaviors with alcohol, because I was very much a solitary drinker, I was very much into poor me, I was very much into just the world has it against me, if only I was born some other place, had different parents, yada, da, 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 da. But in Houston, it became more public, and one night it became particularly public when I was drunk driving home from another drinking spree and caused a major freeway accident in Houston that put me in jail and put 4 people in the hospital. I was 26 years old. I don't know if you ever had that experience, but being in jail and not knowing, well, which would have been felony hit and run because I left the scene and went back, and a friend took me back. I told him what had happened, and he said, what? He drove me back where I was arrested. The freeway was shut down. There were ambulances, policemen. And went to Harris County Jail. That was 2 weeks before I was scheduled to take the Texas bar exam. My first court appearances as an attorney were on the wrong side of the Yeah, that was not my plan. Did you ever have plans that didn't work out? Yeah. Oh, really? No one. I'm amazed that all your plans work out. That's great. And I was absolutely terrified that I had killed someone because I didn't know. I don't know if you know that feeling. It's a lot different than when you want to kill yourself. Because when you may have killed someone else, it's not about you. When you want to kill yourself, it's all about you. No one was killed. People were hospitalized. Later, in making the amends, I don't know if I'll have time to share about that, but it's very important to talk about the steps in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the wreckage of my past. That was literal wreckage of my past, involved going back and contacting those people. Now understand that I had insurance and all of that I was taken care of, but the point of the step is it doesn't say that you make amends unless you had insurance. You make amends unless they had, great medical care. I sponsored a guy once, I have to share this, and we were talking about his amends. And I said, well, have you made amends for that? And he said, well, no, I haven't. And I said, well, why not? And he says, well, the step says that we made amends unless, help me out, unless to do so would injure them or others. Would injure them or others, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, it would really hurt me to go make an amends to that person, and I'm an other. And I go, what? And he was deadly serious. When I got out of jail, I got out in the morning. I went home at 9 in the morning and immediately got drunk. I was just a daily drinker, incapable of working, basically, at that time. And I swore that never again would I drive while I drank, because I knew I couldn't quit drinking. I would cross that line years before. I knew that I would drink for the rest of my life no matter what. No matter what. And within a week, I was back drinking and driving again. And the problem in my life, I identified the problem in my life. The problem in my life was Texas. So I moved back to California and began the whole routine all over again. I'll spare you any more of the story. October 6, 1981, I called Los Angeles Central Office, where I'm going to be in an hour and 20 minutes. And someone there picked up the phone just like I will pick it up. And I said, I want to stop drinking. And they sent me to the Westwood 2+2 meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's still there, I think. It was on a Tuesday night. It was a big meeting. And for the very first time, I began to listen to what was being read and said at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because with this is great. You've got a scientific trained guy and Chris before me, and I have this kind of lawyer type thinking. You have some great minds up here in front of you. And isn't it interesting how screwed up things got? But I listened very carefully with this finely tuned mind to what was being read that night. And I said, aha. They're going to tell me what my odds are of staying sober, because isn't that what everyone wants to know? They want to know, what are the odds of staying sober in Alcoholics Anonymous? I want to know that. Yeah. Is it going to work for me? That's what I want to know, because I know it won't. Nothing works for me. And there it was, the first sentence of chapter 5. Rarely. What's rare? Rarely. 0.005% of the time or something. Rarely have we seen a person fail. And I thought, that's great. And then it says, who has thoroughly followed our path. And my mind is thinking, if General Motors said, rarely have we seen a seatbelt fail when properly worn, every lawyer would go to court saying that's an express or implied warranty, and they'd be suing on the basis of that. Or even a contract, you could make that argument too. So here's what I was doing. And by the way, at that time, I was going to meetings at Roxbury Park in Beverly Hills. I was making the long trek over there because I didn't want anyone from here to know that well, you know how it is. What would they think at the pizza place across from Mussel Beach if they knew I was going to a meeting in this area? Yeah. So I went to that meeting, and I heard that being read, and I said, okay, this is what I'll do. I'll thoroughly follow this little path that they're on. I know it's not going to work because nothing works for me. And then I'll be able to stand up in front and tell them how their little book, or their big book, excuse me, that isn't that big, and all their steps don't work because I did it, and I thoroughly followed your little path, and you can just take this thing and throw it because I am different. Get that? Is anyone here different? Don't raise your hand. Oh, one person did, thank you. So then I had to find out, well, what is this path that people are on? I started talking to people, and they say, well, first thing we do is we don't drink no matter what. I said, okay, great, but what's the path that you're on? He says, well, we don't drink no matter what. I said, well, great, but what's the path that I'm supposed to follow? He said, well, we don't take a drink no matter what. I said, okay, great, I've got that, but what's this path? Okay, well, you get a sponsor. Well, wait a minute, I don't need, look, you're dealing with a mind. Hello? I don't need someone to tell me what to do. And I remember a guy saying to me, he said, damn it, Kip, get a sponsor or you'll drink again. And I did. I got a sponsor. And my sponsor said, well, get commitments because that's how you stay sober. That's how you be of service. You're a selfish da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I said, well, selfish? Me? I've only wanted to help people in my life. All right, well, look, you're so selfish, get some commitments. And I began to get commitments in Alcoholics Anonymous. My first commitment was at the 2+2 meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I thought they should make me vice president of the Western Division, covering the states of California, Nevada, possibly Oregon and Washington for Alcoholics Anonymous. What they decided to do in their wisdom was to make me janitor of the Westwood 2+2 meeting. And I said, well, and that was a real cleanup in those days. It was like you folding chairs, you put them away, you clean the hall out, you sweep the hall, then you wet mop it, and you do the same thing in the kitchen. It was a real commitment. So I started doing that. And the first thing about commitments that I learned is you get resentments immediately because they asked for volunteers to help clean up, and all these hands would go up, and then after the meeting, there'd be one person there. Where are all the other people? What's going on with this? And then 3 months later, I found myself with a wad of bills in my hand, walking into Allen Janitorial Supply, which is right around 6th, 3rd Main Street in Santa Monica. And I was on a mission. I was on a mission to buy 2 mops for my meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Have you ever tried to pick out 2 mops from a janitorial supply store with 3 months sobriety? Because just imagine this. What would happen if I bought the wrong mops? What would they say? What would they say about me? Oh, you're supposed to be so smart. How could you buy those stupid mops? You're supposed to have better mops than that. So I began testing mops. Testing mops in the back corner of Allen Janitorial Supply. You see, because I didn't want to buy the wrong mops. You know, they entrusted me with, I don't know what, $20 or something. Go buy some mops. Okay. So I'm testing mops, one, then the next one, to find the best mops for my meeting. And the best question I ever got when I tell my mop story, what kind did you get? Well, I'll tell you. I got one that had kind of an orange handle, and I've seen them at a lot of, good restaurants. I pay attention to that. What mop are they using? But it's made of an industrial high-grade plastic, so it's flexible. It's hollow, so it's lightweight. It's orange, so you can see it in the back of a closet. Excellent, excellent choice. Nice whip action and everything. The next decision is, well, how long of the stringy head thing do you buy? I'm not a mop expert, trust me. Well, the short one didn't cover enough, and I had to do that whole room, so that was out. But the long one, I found, started getting caught under the little corner of the shelves that they had there, and I thought that was too long. And so I got the middle one. All right. So then I got a pail, too. And the following Tuesday, I walked back to my meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous with my new pail. Now understand, I didn't think about drinking. Gee, what was happening? Walked back, I had my 2 mops, and I walked into my meeting. Oh, did I say my meeting? Oh, that's something else that happened with these commitment stuff. You start to feel like you're part of something. And I walked back in, and I looked around, and people are all talking to themselves and everyone else. And no one noticed. No one noticed all that stuff I went through. They were too busy talking about themselves. It took me a couple of years to figure out how valuable that commitment and other commitments I've had in Alcoholics Anonymous are, because they taught me how to respond as a human being, how to deal with resentments, how to show up when I'm supposed to show up for someone who didn't like to show up anywhere and would try to talk himself out of doing anything, how to make mistakes, how to make lousy cups of coffee and be okay with it and come back the following week and try again. By the way, there's some people that are never going to like your coffee no matter what. I hate to break it to you, but particularly here, there are people who are never going to like your coffee no matter how hard you try. I've realized that probably 30% of the people just aren't going to like me no matter what. They're not going to like it because I'm so damn handsome. See, now the 30%, if you're not laughing, you're in that 30%. Another 30% are just not going to care. They're saying, God, will this guy just please finish this story? When are they going to have the ham? And that's cool. And then there's another 30% that are going to love me no matter what. And those are the people that I've learned over the years to try to hang with rather than trying to work on the other. Uh-oh, my math is off. 60%. All right, now the mathematicians are coming out of the woodwork. What, did you just shift categories there yourself? Yeah. Kip, I was with you here, but boy, that got me. Now I'm in the other 30. I used to try to please everyone. It just didn't work, and that's one of the things I've learned in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've had commitments in H&I for 14 years, went into jails and prisons and hospitals. And that's where I learned a great deal about speaking in front of people, where I didn't want to tell anything about myself. I was very shy and withdrawn, wanted to be alone all the time. But when you go into a prison and there are guys sitting over there and, you start talking about your puppy dog, but I remember going to Chino. YTS was what they call a youth training school. It basically are for young felons who've whatever. And a guy came up to me afterwards. This is how I knew. I had 2 years sobriety. This is how I knew I was really a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because this one kid came up to me and he said, I have a legal question for you. Sometimes I mention the whole law stuff. Sometimes I don't. But I happened to mention it then. And I said, well, I can't give you any advice. That's not why I'm here. And he said, well, let me just ask you this. No one will take no for an answer. And he said, my grandparents won't let me see my daughter, my baby daughter. And this kid was probably 17 or 18. And I said, well, do you have a legal right to see your daughter? Well, yes, I do, but they're in the custody of my grandparents. And I said, oh, well, you should have a right to see your daughter. And then I said, well, where's your wife? And he said, I killed her. I swear to you, the next words out of my mouth were, well, that happens, but you didn't drink, did you? swear. It was at that point that I knew that I was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, carrying the message that you just don't drink today, no matter what. You know, we can't bring back his wife. I can't bring back the people or the people that I injured in car accidents, the families, problems that I've created over my period of drinking. What I can do is live today the best that I can. What I can do is today make amends when I have wronged someone. You know, sometimes the silence is just so wonderful. Well, probably not to you, but okay, anyway. I've had commitments that people have normally at any meeting. Hey, AG, how you doing? Gosh, I just see some people I haven't seen in many, many years coming in here. When I think of the number of people that I knew when I first came in that are not here anymore, and it's not because I'm any better, it's not about that, it's not about being good or being bad, that's not it. Because I don't know. I know people who have had commitments, who've done everything, and they're out there. I don't know what it is. I do not know. When the book talks about that moment will come in the life of every alcoholic where he has help me out with this, no choice over whether to drink or not. That was a major paraphrase right there. That no defense over the first drink, that is, defense must come from a higher power. Defense must come from a higher power. I believe that my higher power was with me when I was testing those damn mops. My higher power was with me when I was in the car accident and 4 people lived in a 60-mile-per-hour crash that in 1976, all 4 people were wearing seat belts. That really doesn't happen. I don't even know all 4 people wearing seat belts in the 2004 wearing seat belts. I believe that when I show up, that when I am service to other people, that I can be taken care of. It's when I get into my own stuff that I am in trouble. I firmly believe in one of the bedrocks sentences of my program is on page 62, that sentence that says, selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous offers me any number of opportunities to get out of this selfishness and be of service to someone else, even if I don't want to do it. Because if I'm the problem, what am I going to do? Sit around and think about it at home by myself and figure it out? That's what I did with a bottle. It didn't work. Now I have an opportunity to be of service, to work the steps, to honor and respect my higher power, to use the tools of this program while the universe and my higher power takes care of the stuff in my life. I can take the action that I can take and leave the rest up to a higher power and to what I'm going to do. I had many miraculous things happen on this program. The first was in picking my sponsor. I did a lot of things in my hometown of Redding, California, and I didn't want anyone to know about it. I heard a guy speak at a meeting in Beverly Hills when I was new, and he talked about having a Rolls Royce, and I said, I want what he's got, so I asked him to be my sponsor. Little did I know the Rolls Royce was, on a lease, and it was repossessed about 4 months later. But there was a reason that I asked him to be my sponsor, and I told him my whole story and all this stuff I had done. And the first thing I said is, I don't want anyone to know any of this stuff I did up in Redding, California. But I didn't mention the city. I just said, I don't want anyone to know all these things I did in my little city. And we went out to dinner afterwards. He said, that was a good inventory, you know, let's go have some dinner. He said, by the way, what was the name of that city? And I said, Reading. And he said, you're kidding. He was about my age. He grew up in Redding, California. I had just told him my entire story. Everything I had done. He used to use drugs with the brother of my best friend. I had no idea. 2 houses away. And here in the city of Los Angeles, of everyone that I pick out of the blue because he has a Rolls Royce, is a guy that I just told my entire story to. Unbelievable. The tragedy of this, he at that time, he was arrested when he was 18, went into the youth rehab system of California and was sober 33 years. He committed suicide 3 years ago. So I do know that while length of sobriety absolutely counts for something, and when I'm in trouble, I go to someone who's been through the same thing I have, which usually are people who've been around a while. It doesn't mean that length of sobriety makes us immune from the day-to-day things that go on, the emotional drama, the trauma, and many times that person who has more sobriety than you needs your help as much as you need theirs. And that basically is what's happened to me today. You've really helped me, whether you have more or less sobriety than I do today. It was fun to come up from Orange County today to share with you a little bit about what it was like for me, what happened and what it's like now. I invite you to come down to meetings in Orange County because now you know the format, you know. You can just tell them when your sobriety date is, who your sponsor is, and you'll have a good time. And if you're bored tonight between 4 and 8, give Bill and me a call at central office and say hi. Yeah. That'll be a good thing. So I want to thank Brandy again for asking me to come up today and speak. I want to thank all of you. I would love to think that you're all that everyone's in that 30%. That everyone's, did you do that? Did you judge yourself, by the way? Did you judge yourself when I talked about 30%? Did you do that? Because if you didn't, you're not an alcoholic. Because you're an alcoholic. Yeah. Well, you know, I really don't like him, but I think I can. I think if I got to know him, it might be okay. I'm sure I could do that. I don't know. Anyway, wherever you see yourself today, it'll be different tomorrow. But just don't drink and keep breathing no matter what. Thank you.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.